odds of winning it all. But LeBron James says, not so fast. There's still a lot of work to do.
We still got a lot of room to improve. We're still trying to get better. We got a lot of games to play. We're not playoff ready right now. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. And every game will continue to help us grow, win, lose, or draw.
Do you have a spot in mind in the Eastern Conference that you need to hit before the playoffs? You have to get
top 8. Top 8. Put me in the playoffs, I'm all right. Once I get in the playoffs, I'm confident against anybody.
There you go.
All right, so that was after last night's blowout win over Boston. Take a look at the favorites to win Pro Basketball Championship. Cleveland, Golden State, Oklahoma, Atlanta, Memphis, San Antonio, Chicago, Los Angeles. I see they put the C there, so we wouldn't
no need to put the L there.
Well, excuse you.
Who confused that this year?
Some of us still have some hope. That might be me.
You, yourself, and you.
Right.
You, yourself, and you. Okay, I got it. All right, so do you agree with odds makers in Vegas? Cleveland taking it all?
Yep.
Wow.
Taking it all.
Make the case.
Absolutely.
Top 8.
Yeah, the Cavs are in flux, as LeBron said. They have certain things they need to work on, but what team right now in the NBA does not have things to work on? Golden State, you're looking at Bogut. Can they have him healthy? Houston, Dwight, Oklahoma City, same thing with injuries. Chicago, go down the line. Every team has something in flux right now, but here's why I think the Cavs are the favorite and should be the favorite. It's not just because of LeBron. It's because of the pulse he's had on this team all year long. You go back to early January when they were 500 and they were struggling and everybody was like, they're going nowhere this year. They beat the Los Angeles Lakers in LA, and he said afterward, we turned a corner. And everybody's going, wait, you beat the Lakers, you turned a corner? That's actually just what you should be doing. They went on that massive streak. They won 18 out of 20. He saw something, and he thought his guys had turned a corner. All right, now you hear him saying, we got to play better defense. They certainly need to play better offense. Their offense occasionally looks really good, and occasionally they just dribble down the clock until there's 4 seconds left. There are certain things they need to fix, but I am convinced that LeBron is making tweaks and he sees what needs to be done, and he's going to make sure that that happens. And that's why I do think they're the favorite, not just his play, but the way he has had this roster on point and knowing where they need to go all year long.
Yeah, I think the odds makers really looked at what happened when LeBron came back and then looked and said, you know what, this is what this team is supposed to be. They had a horrible stretch where they were, 13, you lost 13, 17 games, something like that. But then once LeBron took his little break and came back, the level that they were playing at, I think all the odd makers said, okay, this is the Cleveland team we're about to see. Now, you add that on to the moves that they made, getting Mozgov, getting Iman Shumpert, getting J.R. Smith. It's like, wow, this team can really actually do something and really get themselves together if they can find some type of chemistry and find what they're going to do defensively by April. Once they figure it out, they're going to be Team B. So I can understand the odds makers picking them. Do I think they're still going to win it? Personally, I don't know. The sample size is not large enough to really, go in and say, yeah, that team is going to be the exact same team, come going up against a healthy Chicago Bulls team or in the finals going up against whoever they may go up against. We don't know if it's going to be the same team, especially with the inexperience that a lot of players have playing in playoff basketball. But for odds makers, I get it. I'm looking at that squad like, look, once LeBron came back, they went on that roll. They still haven't found a way what Kevin Love's going to do yet, but they still look good, and they're beaters. I get it. The interesting to me is that they still made this decision after watching them lose that game against Houston. I thought the other thing. I thought people would look at that and say, okay, now we see what their flaws are. Now they're not as beautiful and perfect. They have a flaw. Any LeBron had a bad game, but still there's a flaw there. They say, hey, you know what? Kyrie Irving didn't play. It's still good. We still got them to win it. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah, that game against Golden State that they played, where they played phenomenal, and they look like the team that's going to win the NBA Finals, that's the team I expect.
Right.
Come April, and that's the team obviously Vegas expects come April.
Yeah.
Both really, really fair and great points. And I completely understand why Las Vegas put them in. And it's all because of LeBron James. No disrespect to Kyrie Irving, although when you say no disrespect, you're about to disrespect somebody. Right, that's how that goes. And I love Kyrie Irving, Uncle Drew's game. I think Kevin Love will figure it out a little bit to the best of his ability. But this is because LeBron James continues to play like that singular talent night in and night out. If we didn't think he could get any better, well, he's going to continue to do that until he decides he wants to walk away from the NBA. That's why the odds makers made the Cleveland Cavaliers the favorites. But playoff basketball is such a different animal. I'm telling you, if you have never gone through it, I've heard this time and time again from coaches and players that the two things that are underrated about NBA playoff basketball are advanced scouting and adjustments. He says every scout knows what play you're going to run and how to take it away, and you still have coaches that are good enough to design plays to make that work, knowing what's coming, and you still can't stop it.
Right.
But the adjustment factor, Kyrie Irving has never been through that. Kevin Love has never been through that. David Blatt has never been through that. LeBron can say all he wants, this is what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen, but you still got to go out there and deal with it and learn how to execute it. That's why they're the favorites, because of LeBron James. But I still would take a team like Memphis over them. If Oklahoma City is healthy, the moves that they made, getting Enes Kanter from the Utah Jazz, Mitch McGary is now healthy, the young man out of Michigan. We're going to see the Phantom of the Opera back, known as Russell Westbrook, play with the Master Night back for Oklahoma City. That team, talent-wise, can stack up with Cleveland. Houston, when they get Dwight Howard back, you know that team's going to be better. Golden State, the one worry I have about them is the inside game. But if Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are making shots in the short series, I'll take my chances with them. Those are the things that I don't have to worry about with those teams because they've been through it. That's the biggest worry for me with Cleveland. That's why I still think they're a year away from winning an NBA championship.
But by the time they reach any of the teams you mentioned, they would be in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, because they
will have had weeks and weeks of playoff experience. Well, then bring up the Atlanta Hawks maybe as a team that could beat them. They don't have a ton of playoff experience either. Or at the head coaching position, as an assistant with the Spurs, certainly, but not as a head coach. So by the time they're running into an Oklahoma City or any of the other teams you mentioned, they'll have been in the playoffs.
But the thing about it is that the team that they have to meet in the conference, if they do get to the finals from the Western Conference, has had experience playing together in these stages more than they have. So even if they go up against a Golden State can say, look, this team has been together 3 or 4 years, and we're not to the finals. We know that Cleveland's coming from nowhere to go where. You look at OKC, we've been there. We've been to the finals. This core has been here before. If it's the Spurs, we've been here before. Hell, we're the defending champions. We've been here before.
Right.
Every team they have to face when they get to the finals has something over them in that experience, and that we've had this fight before and gone through it. So, yes, Cleveland will be battle-tested to a certain degree if they get to the finals. But any team they have to match up against, if the Clippers, if it's the Trailblazers, the Thunder,
Portland,
all of them, that experience that they have together is going to trump. I think that's what you're trying to say. Right.
I even think with the Atlanta Hawks, we'll find out Friday when these two teams meet again, because the last time they met, the Hawks trumped them big time. If the Hawks go out there and do the same thing again, not blow them out but win, that's going to send a message to everybody like, look, you can talk about LeBron James, talk about these singular talents, but we're a team. And the last time LeBron James was in this situation, the NBA Finals, he ran into a team, and how did that end? Did end well against San Antonio. Not trying to compare Atlanta to San Antonio, but they're the same kind of team. They share the basketball. They're really good defensively, especially on the perimeter. Jeff Teague is an underrated defender, keeping point guards from getting in the lane. And by going what they went through last year, a lot of these guys were in that series against the Indiana Pacers, where they had a lead in that series. Granted, a fractured Pacers team, but they still had a lead in that series before they let it get away. They learned a lot from that they can carry over. And I think right now, as a core team, they're a better team than Cleveland. One singular talent can win a playoff series. We've seen LeBron James and other guys do that. But you're going to need some help at a certain point. And I still wonder, when that happens, and you got to deal with that in the NBA playoffs, will Kyrie step up? Will Tristan Thompson step up? Will Kevin Love step up?
Quick question. Will you have the same point of view this time next year?
Oh, God, no. Because there's no way. Because I don't think David Blatt, I like him as a coach. And when people saying he was their coach walking, I said, the brothers only had 25 games. I don't give them a chance.
Because we are a now generation.
That's okay.
We want to see results right away.
That's okay being a now generation, but I'm from the truthiness generation. I'd rather have the truth instead of being in the now. And we've seen David Blatt make that adjustment. But making the adjustment in the playoffs when people know what you're going to do and trying to make that work, that's what I want to see how that's going to work out outside of LeBron James.
Go ahead, Kate. Final point.
Yeah, but you actually here's an analogy, right? I would rather have a driver in a car who can make shifts for me while the car is in motion than have to take it back to the pit and have a good mechanic. And that's what the Cavs have in LeBron. They have a guy behind the wheel who can make those adjustments on the fly in game. So I'm not as worried about David Blatt as I would be.
Because you feel like he's the coach.
I feel like he is the coach. What we've seen all year long. Yeah. He's the guy with his pulse on it. I get your point about the guys on the floor with him not having had that playoff experience. But as far as David Blatt goes, LeBron is coaching this team when you come down to it.
He's doing more than that as well.
Yeah, but
He's
you
the
need,
GM
you
as
need
well.
a good crew chief in your ear to make sure you make that adjustment in the turns.
All right, so let's leave it there. Let's talk about a team that is not worried about the postseason because they're not going. That's the Nuggets. We had the discussion earlier this week. We talked about them breaking a huddle 1, 2, 3, 6 weeks.
1, 2, 3, 5.5 weeks now.
As in 6 weeks to the end of the season. Clearly, management thought that was a problem. And Freddie, you were all-knowing. You said it's easier to give it a 1 as opposed to 15. Let's listen to what our Freddie Coleman has to say.
It's easy to